So firstly, there's a lot of exciting opportunities with AI and machine learning, as well as traditional techniques like statistics and various types of analysis. So we will sort of start to see a shift away from focusing so much on data quality and constant checking over to some of this more modelling where you can use correlations and so on to actually supplement some of those data quality problems that initially we previously would have actually thought, spent a lot of time on fixing. It does also pose some risks though for workers because of course we're going to be working with this new technology and so that's going to change how we work, and so that's one of the things we think a lot about at Safe Work Australia. So although we have fantastic new insights on the types of injuries we might have, we also have to think really hard about what that might mean for broader worker health and safety working with AI. So one of the really big problems with AI, which is a perennial problem in data, we're just calling it something different, is really around the ethics. Do we actually have the right to collect and use this data? Are we inadvertently biasing outcomes for certain individuals? And so that's something that we have to think really carefully about, and there are a lot of frameworks and thoughts going into that. One of the other challenges, of course, is that AI isn't about humans and being able to explain stuff to humans. And so it is going to be really hard and a real challenge to think through, do we understand enough to know that we haven't biased our modelling? Do we understand enough to know that we've served all Australians equally? And do we understand enough to be very confident in what we have implemented? And so I think that's going to be a challenge because there is a level of risk appetite and engaging with risk that we probably haven't quite thought through yet. So we're a policy body, so we really think a lot about data anyway. So we are constantly scanning the environment to think about how are various people using AI for us to better understand worker health and safety. So in terms of building awareness, we do lots of the traditional things of going and talking to our policy colleagues within the department. We have a lot of SES support for thinking about that. And we also have a really strong engagement with state and territories as well, because there's a lot of exciting things happening outside of the Commonwealth space. So events like this are really fundamental. So I've been in data a really long time, decades and decades, and the number one thing that has helped has been the connections that you make. So these sorts of conferences help you do that, and you get out of it what you put into it. So even though you might think, oh, it's so awkward going up to someone you don't know and talking to them, make those connections. So for me, I actually have this huge network of people that I've met at conferences like this, because I work in smaller agencies, where I can test out my modelling in a really safe environment, and people can give me that specialist advice, or they might know something that's happening, or they might know someone that wants to join my team, because we're always looking for good people. So these sorts of events are really important, not just for hearing about all the cool stuff that's going on, but also forming those connections that will make a difference to you in your career.